I might need to use the microphone. It's bad when I even forget to use the microphone. I tell you what, one of these days, you people are going to have a good pastor's wife. Until then, you better get to praying for me. But yeah, we do have, it looks a little bit different in here today. And I'm just going to let you know we have started back the young adult class. And the young adult class, people like Charles and Madison and yeah, Timmy and Leah, that age group, they're going to have class once every month. It's the last Sunday each month. And they usually, it ranges from the age of 18 through around almost 30. You know, so I don't know why we are all sitting in here because young adult class, we need to be right back here, don't we? I mean, that's how I see it, but but they are having, and that's why it looks a little bit down. We do have a few families that are out with whatever this stomach thing is that's been going around. So do pray for the Bowles family and the Reed family, and we, like I said, we got a few of them that are out because of that. Morning, girls. But you know what, Sister Peggy, is she at home? Okay, so pray for Sister Peggy. She's having a little trouble this morning. And otherwise, though, we're going to have a great day. We're going to pray for these people, and we're going to learn some more of God's Word. Can I get an amen? All righty. So we also have a ladies' meeting today. Um, Next week starts October. Woo! Go October. And it also a wonderful, wonderful month. On October the 12th, we have Old Fashioned Sunday. So get your old fashioned clothes out, fellas, if you got any overalls and maybe what are those little ties called? The 4-in-1 ties or whatnot. Get those out. Ladies, you got something antebellum that you want to wear in here. That is wonderful. We'll have just a great time in the Lord. All right. So today, the title of our lesson is Joshua's Final Challenge. And then it focuses on a covenant renewal. Before we get into this lesson, we will go ahead and take up tithes and offerings and pray over the lesson before we get started. Brother Sammy, you got it under control, do you? I'm glad somebody's got it under control because I just show up and go with a wing and a prayer most of the time. And I'm going to ask Sister Birdie, will you please pray over our offering and our lesson today, dear? Amen. Don't forget, if you have Facebook, you can go online and make any type of donation. You can pay your tithes through it. It's the very first post on our Facebook page. It just point at it. It'll turn to the hand for you to select it, and it'll take you straight to a place where you can donate by using your debit card or credit card. A lot of people work that way anymore, so we're trying to make it more convenient for people to give back to God. Any funds that are given into this church are made available to help those in need. We do our best to give everything back to God. We like to thank God for it, and we use it to build up His kingdom. It's not for any personal gain whatsoever. It's always to build up the kingdom of God. So today, Joshua's final challenge. Now, so far, we've gone through the fact that Joshua replaced whom? Who? Moses. Joshua replaced Moses, okay? So, once Moses dies, Joshua takes over. So, did God ever part the water for Joshua while he was leading? Think about the river of Jordan. He did. Remember in one of our first lessons, it talked about how it was during the flood stage that he went through and they parted, the water was parted for the children of Israel to go across Jordan. Okay? A very scary, it was over the banks, it was flooding like crazy. God still did it for them. So we have the example of God parting the sea for Moses and the children of Israel, a standing still body of water, and we have the example of the mighty rushing water coming through. God still stopped that water so they could go across on dry land. So we got two different examples there to show it doesn't matter if it's standing still or if it's flood water that's raging. God is still in control of it. All right? Then we went on. We heard the story about when Joshua led the children of Israel into battle to take different cities, the city of Jericho with the walls, the city of Ai, where they fell away. They did not follow God's order pretty much. They forgot. It got easy. And we do this. I know I've done this before. Things go a little bit easy in life and you don't pray as much. Have y'all noticed that? Things get a little bit simplified, a little bit easier to deal with. Oh, we don't come to church. Oh, well, let's have a day of fun. I've heard a Sunday called Sunday Fun Day. Oh, that's when we want to go and watch ball games. That's when we want to go and take the family to Dollywood. That's when we want to go and just have vacation. And there's nothing wrong with having a vacation. What I'm saying is wrong is when you do it about 10 times out of the year. And it just so happens the only time you can visit any family is on Sunday. Whatever happened to have family reunions on a Saturday? What happened to ever visiting family on Saturday and keeping God's day God's day? You know, a lot of people get out of that habit. They get life a little too easy. And then some hardship will hit. Some trial will come through. And what do you know? They'll be back in church. Oh, I need prayer. Well, where were you 2 weeks ago when everything was smooth and nice and well? We need to have consistency in our lives. You don't pick up God like a pair of house shoes. When I want to be comfortable, that's when I'm going to pick God up. That's when I'm going to have Jesus in my life. When I want things to be better. No, I'm going to consistently want Jesus in my life. Oh, consistency, I'm telling you, it's huge. When I get up tomorrow, I want Jesus to be in my life. When I get up on Tuesday, I want Jesus to be in my life. I don't want to just go through and be like, oh, well, I went to church on Sunday. I'm good. I don't have to pray and read my Bible again on Tuesday. Yeah, you need to read it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every single day. When I have a relationship with people, I have a tendency to text them. I have a tendency to call them. I have a tendency to check on them. If I never, ever, ever check on you, well, action, what is that old saying? Actions speak louder than words. We'll go on from there. Well, here we have Joshua's final challenge. Now, we're jumping a little bit. We just jumped from Joshua leading them from Jericho and Ai and conquering these different cities in the land of Canaan. Remember, the land of Canaan was also referred to as what land? The promised land. Remember the Hebrew children, the Israelites, they were told they were given a promise. They had a promised land. That's where it originated that Moses was leading them to. Why didn't, now think hard on this one, why didn't the first generation of Israelites that Moses was leading, why didn't they get to go into the promised land? Say it louder, Ken. Disobeying. They went out there, if you remember, while they were out in the wilderness, that's when Moses received the 10 Commandments, right? And while he was up on the mountain, That phrase, out of sight, out of mind, took place. Because when he went up on the mountain, the people were like, well, great, where is this guy Moses? If we're supposed to be following Jesus and Moses is leading us, well, where is he? And then they started doing their own thing, which was not following God. Okay? So when Moses comes back down with the 10 Commandments, he looks around, he sees what all they're doing. He got very irritated. Moses had a temper. If you recall way back in Egypt when he saw do you remember when the Egyptians were picking on some Hebrew children and Moses saw it? What did he do? He got mad and did what to the Egyptian? He killed him. See, he allowed his anger, he allowed his emotions to control. So he comes back off the mountain with the 10 Commandments, and he looks around and he sees all this mess going on where they're not following God. He got mad again. And you know what he did with those two? He threw them down and broke them. And then what did he have to do? He had to go right back up that mountain, didn't he? He probably was sorry for throwing them down, losing his cool, giving his attitude. Have y'all ever acted on emotion? No, none of y'all may have, but I'll tell you, I have. Acted on emotion, and then you think, man, I wish I hadn't acted like that. Oh, that was so silly. Yeah. It's like God fights my battles. Why am I acting like the knothead that I was, right? A lot of us do that, unfortunately. I'm leaky today. Y'all have to bear with me. I don't know if it's leaves changing or hay fever or I'm just me. So you just bear with me. But we're jumping from him leading them then to here we are in his final days. Joshua dies when he is 110 years old. The lesson we have today is close to that time, okay? So we have jumped from Joshua being in 40s and 50s and 60s. We've jumped about 50 years into his last things. So let's look at this together. First, 3 things that we're focusing on. Mission accomplished, obedience commanded. That's Joshua chapter 23. Secondly, God recalls his faithfulness. Joshua chapter 24. And then the third thing is choose whom you will serve, Joshua 24 again. Our central truth today, God is always faithful to his covenant. Boy, isn't that the truth? And I am so thankful that he is faithful to his covenant. The promises that he gives me, he holds true to. Our focus today, recognize God's covenant faithfulness to his people and respond by faithfully serving him. Our evangelism emphasis, God calls individuals into covenant with him. And our golden text, now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. That's Joshua 24 and 14. Now, last week we talked about the disobedience of when the Gibeonites came in. They tricked him. They tricked Joshua. You remember that? They dressed like they had been on the road for days walking. They put on all their old clothes. And then after Joshua was like, yeah, we'll form a league with you guys. You help us, we'll help you. Then he found out later, these guys actually just live right down the road from us. And this is pretty irritating that they are out here tricking us into thinking that they traveled so far. When you aren't following God closely, you are open to deception. Okay? That's why it's so important to follow God in everything. Because if you are not putting his word in, what is going to help you fight the tricks of the devil? If you are not concentrating on talking to God, then how is he going to know that you're trying to follow him? Okay? Understand this. Your relationship with God should be a daily thing. Okay? Your relationship should be a daily thing. Joshua 23, when we're looking at the mission accomplished, obedience commanded. Verse number 2 says, And Joshua called for all Israel, and for their elders, and for their heads, and for their judges, and for their officers, and said unto them, I am old and stricken in age. And ye have seen all that the Lord your God hath done unto all these nations because of you. For the Lord your God is he that hath fought for you. Behold, I have divided unto you by lot these nations that remain to be an inheritance for your tribes, from Jordan with all the nations that I have cut off, even unto the great sea westward. Okay. So he starts this by establishing the time frame of a long time had passed. They had received the promised land. They are in the land of Canaan, okay? But tell me, how many tribes of Israel are there? There are 12. Remember, the 12 tribes, okay? As they're going through the promised land, as they're going through the land of Canaan, Joshua is dividing physically the land to say what part was going to belong to. All right? So you have these 12 tribes. You have the tribe of Benjamin. You've got the tribe of Judah. You have the tribe of, who can tell me another one? The tribe of Levi. Now that one was special. Why was the tribe of Levi special? Absolutely, because what were the tribe of Levi? They were the what? They were the priests. So the tribe of Levi actually did not get a section of the promised land because the tribe of Levi supplied the priests for all the other tribes. Therefore, within each area of Canaan for each tribe, they would get a city wherever the temple would be built for that tribe. You got the tribe of Reuben. I believe he was the oldest son, wasn't he? All right? And when you're trying to figure out, well, what were the names of all these tribes? Look at the sons of whom? You've got Joseph. They are the sons of Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to what? Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel. See, I know some of this sounds redundant, and some of it sounds like, the foundational stuff. But I'm telling you, if we don't get the foundational stuff down, biblically and historically speaking, then what are we standing on? We as Christians, we need to know what we're talking about, period. We don't need to lead anybody astray. We need to understand, why is 12 such an important number to God? Because it goes all the way back to the 12 tribes. Wait a minute, they didn't start as tribes. They started as sons. These were Jacob's sons. And we need to understand where they come from, what they stand for. Which tribe did Jesus come out of? The teacher's coming out to meet you today, guys. Which one? Judah. Jesus came out of the tribe of Judah, and that shocks some people. They think he should have come from the tribe of Levi. He wasn't born as a priest. If he had been born as a priest, he would have had certain privileges, so to say, like the tending of the temple and access to all of the temple things. Jesus was to be born the lowest of the low, to represent that servant mentality, to where he had to work his way up. Because if he were born a king, it would be like, well, he was already high and lifted up. Those are the people you have to look to. No. He made the way for everybody to be accepted. He made the way that anybody could look and say, well, if he could do it by being born in a manger, then I could do it. It doesn't matter where I came from. It matters where I'm going to. And we need to realize that. It doesn't matter about denomination. It doesn't matter about religion. It matters about Jesus. I'm telling you, if we don't have that personal relationship with Jesus, we're going to be hurting, and we're going to be hurting soon. I know a lot of people, and we heard it our whole lives. We've heard this. Oh, Jesus is coming back. You better be ready. Guys, look at things going on in society. It is perfectly fallen. The Bible talks about there'll be a great falling away. Oh, but there will also be a great revival. I don't know if you guys have noticed these past couple of weeks, but there has been some serious revival going on. And if God can use the death of one man, wait a minute. How about the death of Jesus? That one man made it where everybody could be saved. And if he can use another one to get people to turn back to where they're supposed to be, to have a realization of what our country was founded upon, the principles that we sought after when America was born, and those principles were to be able to worship God. And not just to worship God, but to worship God freely, to obey God, and to do what His Word commands. We need to realize what's going on, and we need to make sure that we are right, and we need to do everything in our power to get our households right. Because I'm just looking forward to any day. And I'll be honest with you, I can't wait. I got a lot of family up there I'm ready to see again. Verse number 3, and ye have seen all that the Lord your God hath done unto all these nations because of you. For the Lord your God is he that hath fought for you. Verse 4, behold, I have divided unto you by lot these nations that remain to be an inheritance for your tribes from Jordan, with all the nations that I have cut off, even unto the great sea westward. All right, so he calls all these leaders in. A good leader prepares for the next leader. It's that simple. A good leader prepares for the next leader. They don't just look at them and say, well, good luck with that. No. They help them prepare. They disciple them. What did Jesus do while he was here? I think he had a group that he hung out with. You remember what they're called? The 12 disciples, right? Oh, wait a minute. What number was that? 12. You see, numbers play a big role throughout the Bible. Okay? We need to know what they represent. We need to know what they are there for. The number 40, well, you're talking about a generation. The first generation of the Israelites, they weren't allowed to go into the land of Canaan because of disobedience. Moses wasn't allowed to go into the promised land because of disobedience. Remember, they were out in the desert. They needed water. God told him, go talk to the rock. What was Moses' biggest hang-up about himself? Do y'all remember? He couldn't speak properly. And that stops a lot of people. They think they can't speak right. I don't care. It can be anything from a stutter to an accent. But they think they can't get it across. I have faced some of that myself. I know how I sound. I sound like a big old hick that just crawled out of the hills. And what is the stereotype that people will put on a person that sounds like me? Hillbillies, and we're not what? We're not smart. We have no education. That's automatically just tacked on to us. I got news for them. There are some people that sound like me. That's some of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And they have wisdom way beyond a lot of others that are supposedly smart. A lot of people get hung up on education. Let me tell you, there are some uneducated people out there that have more wisdom than any professor I've met. Nothing about Joshua tells me that he went to school forever, but you know what? He was trained. Who trained Joshua? Moses. Oh, that's, boy, whew, yeah, that's the truth. She said there's a lot of educated people, they don't have common sense. That's true. But Joshua being trained by Moses. And don't you know that Moses gave him a good lesson about this? Listen, when God tells you to do something, you do it. All right? He told me to talk to that rock, and I didn't feel like I could talk to it because, I don't talk really well, or I have a speech problem. So I took my stick and I hit the rock. That's disobedience. We got to make sure we do what God says to do. All right? We don't need to put our 2 cents worth on it. We need to do what God tells us to do. It might be something so small. It might honestly be something like going in, use my boys over here. It might be something so small as looking at a teacher that you think is the most hateful thing that you've ever met in your life. I bet there's a bunch of them out there. I know because I was one. And they'll be so hateful. And I've had one come in to me before and look at me and say, Miss White, you just look lovely today. I hope you have a blessed day. And you talk about they could have just taken a 2x4 and smacked me upside the head to straighten me out, spiritually speaking, because that's what I needed. To realize they're the very reason I was there in the first place. We need to make sure we're doing what God tells us to do. Moses disobeyed. He didn't get to enter the promised land. So Joshua, prepared by Moses, he obeyed. He still slipped, didn't he? Don't make me whip out AI again. He still slipped a little bit. But he found his way back to God, and he tried to do what God would have him to do. And in the end, he wanted to prepare the leaders, the heads, the elders, the judges, the officers. He got them all together and goes, listen, even though the major cities had been conquered, there were still remnants of Canaanites. And he was giving them fair warning. Look with me over at Joshua 23, verse 6. Be ye therefore very courageous to keep and to do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, that ye turn not aside therefrom to the right hand or to the left, that ye come not among these nations, these that remain among you, neither make mention of the name of their gods, nor cause to swear by them, neither serve them, nor bow yourselves unto them, but cleave unto the Lord your God, as ye have done unto this day. There are many things out there in the world, our society, that we absolutely hang on to as human beings. I can guarantee you that there are some human beings, they cannot go a single day without opening Facebook. And then everything they read on Facebook, they'll believe. And it's a shame. Because now, talking about AI, now we have AI, artificial intelligence. I had a picture of my husband on my phone. It's just a little snapshot I took of him cooking breakfast. And this little thing pops up on my phone and says, look what AI can do for your pictures to bring them to life. And I thought, what can AI do to my pictures to bring them to life? So I clicked that picture of my husband cooking breakfast. He was standing there, had on an apron, had a spatula. It changed that picture into him dancing. It put music to it. And it had him, he was dancing a jig, buddy, with that spatula, flipping eggs and all this kind of stuff. First of all, Jimmy White don't dance, okay? If he dances, it's in the spirit. It's sure not with a spatula while cooking breakfast. And I saw that, and it looked, real. And immediately I thought to myself, oh my goodness, that's deception. Now, can these things like Facebook be used for just good stuff? Yeah. In the beginning, when they were they created for good reasons? Yeah. In the beginning, we had things like, Lord, let's go way back. Any of y'all remember MySpace? That was before Facebook. I remember the first time I ever even heard Facebook. One of my teaching partners came to me and said, hey, have you ever tried this new thing called Facebook? I'm like, no, I've never even heard of it. And she's like, you need to try it because it's awesome the way we can talk to each other and contact people and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, sounds interesting. I'll check it out. We get sucked into these things. We need to be careful. I still to this day don't have TikTok. I don't have TikTok because it originated as a Chinese organization, and you have to give certain information. And let me tell you, when you open up your phone, when you open up this little darling that has access to your whole life, when you open that up to somebody, they can get right in there and they can pull out every detail about your life. And then what's next? We need to be careful. Don't you know that Moses taught Joshua, you need to be careful? Oh, that's a perfect one to have up there at verse number 8. Let's go on over to verse number 8. And I brought you into the land of the Amorites, which dwelt on the other side of Jordan, and they fought with you. And I gave them into your hand that you might possess their land, and I destroyed them from before you. Verse number 12, and I sent the hornet before you, which drave them out from before you, even the 2 kings of the Amorites, but not with thy sword, nor with thy bow. And I have given you a land for which ye did not labor, and cities which ye built not, and ye dwell in them, of the vineyards and olive yards, which ye planted not, do ye eat. Look at faith in God's provision. There is a guy named George Mueller. I read the book about George Mueller, and let me tell you, you talk about an example. Whew, he was such an example for God. The title of this is Faith in God's Provision. An amazing example of God's faithfulness is found in the life of George Mueller. Mueller operated a number of children's homes in England. He was led by God to never solicit funds for his work. Instead, he simply trusted God. At times, the pantry was empty and there was no food for the many children under his care. Mueller would pray until assured of God's provision. Repeatedly, God miraculously and faithfully supplied the need. It is amazing to hear the details of how they wouldn't have anything to eat. He literally had hundreds of children in his children's homes, okay? Multiple homes throughout all of England. And he opened these homes because he felt that's what God would have him to do. And through faith, he stepped out. He never asked for any money. That's what it means to solicit funds. He didn't go and ask money from people. But instead, he prayed. And every time God met the need. the food would come in. Jimmy has told you stories before of how his family would sit down to dinner and not have anything to eat. Table would be set, they'd all be around the table even, and there'd be no food. Could you imagine you go to sit down to dinner and everything's empty? And you're sitting there, you got your plate in front of you, empty. You look at the bowl sitting in the table, empty. And your dad looks at you and says, bow your heads, we're going to pray before we eat. Wouldn't you be thinking, have you lost your mind? I don't know if you've looked at these bowls lately, but there's nothing in there. That might have worked for the Peter Pan movie, but it doesn't work at home. All right? There's nothing here. But Preacher White still, bow your heads, we're going to pray. And before they finished the blessing over the food, there'd be a knock at the door where somebody had brought them food to eat. That's how my God works. All right? He is a miracle-making God. Praise Jesus. But now I want you to look, though. When we're reading verses 8 and 12 over in where I sent the hornet before you, that means God sent in. You remember the story of Jericho? Were the people brave as far as they were ready? Those Israelites come in, buddy, the fight was going to be on. Or were they afraid of the children of Israel? Yeah, they were afraid. Remember what Rahab said? Oh, we've heard about you guys. We heard about the parting of the Red Sea and how God has given you cities and all this kind of stuff. These guys didn't even have to work for the spoils. They got to walk straight into the city and take it. They walked straight in and took these cities. Why? Because God gave them the city. You remember the story of Balaam? You remember that talking donkey? Do you know that story took place in the taking of the Promised Land? Okay, remember Balak was king of that area, and he hired Balaam to come in and curse the children of Israel. See, he had already heard of them too. He was afraid of them too. He knew when they came through that God was going to give them his land. And so he told Balaam, he's like, Balaam, I need you to curse these children. I don't need them coming in here taking my stuff. Balaam's like, all right. And Balaam tried to curse the children of Israel. And every time he'd try to curse them, what came out? A blessing instead. God took control of Balaam's mouth, his tongue, his throat, and he brought a blessing out on the children of Israel. And over here's Balak, and he's getting ticked off at Balaam because he's paying him to curse them. And every time he goes to curse them, he blesses them. He's like, what are you doing? I'm paying you to curse them. And Balaam's like, I'm trying. But every time I open my mouth, I bless them. And Balaam knew it was because God was the one blessing them. As a matter of fact, when Balaam traveled to try to curse the children of Israel, there was a huge angel in the way with a flaming sword. Could you imagine you're riding on the back of a donkey and you're going through this aisleway? There was a wall on each side, but he was traveling in between. It was blocked, and the donkey was doing everything to stop him. 3 different times he beat that poor old donkey to tell it to go on. And finally, the donkey just stopped and said, okay, wait a minute. Have I not done everything you've asked me to do? Will you please tell me what I've done so bad that you have to beat me to keep going? Do you not see this angel? He's going to kill us. And Balaam was so irritated and emotionally involved that he didn't look at it and think, my donkey is talking to me. Nope. Instead, he talked back to it. Now, I don't know about y'all. First time a donkey looks at me and says, hey, listen, Stelina, Don't you think, right then, first of all, somebody's going to have to bring me back too because I'm probably going to pass out. All right? So get the smelling salts or something. And then when they bring me back to, and I realize that this donkey has been talking, I'm calling somebody, all right? There's going to be a circus somewhere that's going to want this donkey, and I'm going to try to sell that thing and make some money. But anyhow, do you see what I'm saying? The human side's going to take hold, but not with Balaam. He was so mad about trying to get someplace that he talked back to it. He's like, listen, if I had something right now, I'd kill you if I had a sword. And the donkey's like, I've done everything you've told me to do. You've raised me from just little all the way up, and I've been good. I've been a good little donkey. And here you're beating me and you're kicking me, and now you're wishing you could kill me? I'm trying to save your life, you dummy. Look up there. All of that took place during the taking of the promised land, okay, when Joshua was leading the Hebrew children. So here, look with me at Joshua 24. Verse number 15. I love this one. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve. That right there is a mouthful. If it seem evil to you. Listen, if you don't think it's fair, how many times have we heard that in life? Oh, wait, let me just ask. Let's see. Suella, how many times have your kids looked at you and said, it's not fair? Can you even count that number? In particular, maybe one of your children that's sitting beside you right now. Trinity, how many times have you looked at your mom or your dad and said, well, that's not fair? Is it an everyday occurrence? Oh, it's more than everyday, right? How about over here? Mater, how many times have you heard the phrase, that's not fair? Which one of them says it the most? Come on. The older one? Yeah, the one that's kind of like, I'm just going to disappear. Don't mind me. And now, adults, how many of us have looked at our life and we have made the statements, it's not fair. Why am I having to go through this? Why do I have to deal with this? Why do I have to deal with this situation in family? Why is God picking on me? And y'all ever said that? Is that just me? Oh, thank you. I appreciate your honesty. You make me feel a little bit better about myself. I have said that before. God, why are you doing this to me? Let me tell you something. God isn't doing that to you. God doesn't do bad stuff to you. Now, he's going to allow the devil to try to do stuff to you because he knows you can handle it. Because God has faith in you. Think about it. He created you. I have all kinds of faith in my daughter. You know why? Because she came out of me. I know what the girl has the potential of doing. Alex, your mama knows the potential that you have because you came out of her. AJ, your mama knows the potential that you have because you came out of her. Trinity, your mama knows the potential you have. And just like that, did God not create each one of us? So does God not know the potential we have? So in this first thing, and if it's, that's not fair to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve. Well, if you don't like it, choose to live for the devil. You got that right, don't you? As human beings, we have this thing called free will. If you want to live for the devil and die and go to hell, then do so. I'm going to pray that you don't choose that. I'm going to pray very hard that you don't. Whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. There was always a stipulation, and it still exists today. If you live under my roof, you go to church. It's pretty simple. Because my house, my rules. I don't care how old you are. When I was 25 years old, I lived with my mom and dad. I had a curfew. I was home every night before 10:30. I was 25 years old. I was a full-time teacher. I respected my parents because it was their house. It wasn't Stelina's house, it was my parents' house. And I respected them for that. I lived under their roof. They didn't live under my roof. I lived under their roof. So at the age of 25, I had a fiance named Jimmy White. He was the age of 21. We got me back home before 10:30. And even then, I had to talk my mom into an extra 30 minutes. It was 10 o'clock. I was like, I am working a full-time teaching job. I have graduated college, 25 years old. What do you think we up this curfew 30 minutes? And you know what she said? I'll think about it. Usually that's no. But she realized that, I was getting a little old. I'm telling you, have the respect that you need. Choose. If you don't want to live by their rules, there is a solution. Get out. Go find your own place. Pay your own way. Verse number 16, and the people answered and said, God forbid that we should forsake the Lord and serve other gods. Verse 22, and Joshua said unto the people, Ye are witnesses against yourselves, that ye have chosen you the Lord to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. Now therefore put away, said he, the strange gods which are among you, and incline your heart unto the Lord God of Israel. If you're going to serve God, serve God. If you're not going to serve God, then don't fake it. Don't try to make people believe you some big Christian when you're not. Say it again, Sammy. You ain't fooling what? You're just fooling yourself. There's a scripture that actually says that you deceive yourself. I believe it's over in Proverbs. Oh, yeah. Look with me at we must surrender. We must surrender ourselves to so utterly that we can never own ourselves again. That means we're not in control of ourselves. We realize that only God is in control. We must hand over self and all its rights into an eternal covenant and give God the absolute right to own us. God created us. He is in charge of us. He is the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end. He is the omniscient. He is the omnipotent. He is all-powerful, magnificent. I can't say enough about him. First of all, who better to be in control of this than him? So why would I think I would be intelligent enough or wise enough to control this? No. God needs to control this. If I'm in control, it's going to go wrong. But if God's in control, it's going to be all right. Look at Joshua 24, verse number 26. And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God, and took a great stone and set it up there under an oak that was by the sanctuary of the Lord. And Joshua said unto all the people, Behold, this stone shall be a witness unto us, for it hath heard all the words of the Lord which he spake unto us. It shall be therefore a witness unto you, lest ye deny your God. We need to put God first every single day. Now, it's not the easiest thing to do, but we need to choose him every day. Our golden text, once again, now therefore fear the Lord, serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. Choose God. God isn't going to come down here and smack you around and beat you in the head and say, you're going to serve me. No. I wouldn't want to serve a God like that. Would you, Trinity? If he forced you to, no. I want to be able to choose what I want. And he allows me to choose him. Trinity, it's so good to see you this morning. Won't you come on up here and grab these?